Hi, I'm going to tie a tarpon toad for you today. I'm going to start out with the hook. I'm going to use a Veravas 2600V saltwater hook in size number 1. And I'm going to put that in my vise. It's a really good tarpon hook. It's heavy, wide gap, short shanked, kind of the type of things that we're using today for tarpon. I'm going to start out by tying a base of thread along the shank of the hook. Now this particular toad I'm going to tie is going to have a marabou tail. You'll sometimes see people use rabbit, just feathers, other kinds of feathers. But I'm going to use marabou today. I like the way it looks. I've picked out a couple of pieces of marabou, and key here is to get it to lay pretty flat. On the back of the hook, and you know these feathers all have a curve. I like the curve down, so I'm gonna just try to tie this in along the side of the hook shank. And once again, you want it to get to be pretty level. Okay, that looks pretty good. And this one's a green. This is a little bit more yellow. And a couple of the marbles off this feather. And I'll tie this one on the other side. This one's got a little bend in it. Okay. Cut that off. I can tie the rest of that in. Okay. So I've got the marabou tied in. Add a little glue. All right, now the body of this is going to be yarn. I'm using green here, and I'm basically going to do an X stitch, or a, kind of just tie it in, going crisscross across the material. If you've ever tied a merkin crab, yarn crab, this is basically what you do with this. We're doing the same thing here. I'm going to just do an X wrap, and I'm going to put 4 pieces of yarn in there. Okay, I get that one in. I do a wrap in front of this. Grab my next piece of yarn, Once again, just X-wrap this in and try to get it as close to the other one as I can. Okay. Some guys will do this with EP fiber. I have a hard time with it, maybe because I'm just not as good as other people, but it's hard to keep it together and keep them separate when you're tying them in. Love EP fiber, but not for doing this. And then one more. Okay. So I've got this done. I'm going to tie in my trusty weed guard. Oh, I forgot to cut a piece. Oh, actually before I do that, I got to put the eyes in. So I'm going to put mono eyes on this. So just black eyes in front of this, and they, guess what, they get X-wrapped in as well. Now, weed guard. Again, I'm going to tie a few wraps through that, bring it up so it's going right over the eye on the underside of the shank. Pull it through till it's not blocking. The eye of the hook. I'm going to tie a few wraps behind it. I'm going to whip finish it. Okay, construction is done. Put a little blue on all this. Okay. Now we're going to comb the yarn out and trim it up. So for this you can use a comb, you can use a bodkin just to kind of pull the fibers apart so it becomes kind of a bigger mass. yarn. There's kind of like 3 strands, I think, in this yarn, and then obviously each one of those strands is a bunch of fibers itself, so kind of just pull that out. The light keeps getting in the way here. Okay, now it's a little bigger than we want it. This is when having curved scissors are nice, because you want to put a little curve in this. I'm going to pull that marabou back so I'm not getting any of that in there when I cut it. A little uneven, but and there you have it. So I just want to trim that weed guard again. Pull it back about 1/4 of an inch past the point of the hook. Keep a lot of the stuff off that. And there's your marabou tailed tarpon toad. This is a great fly. It's been used for a long time. I think Andy Mill kind of made it famous in that Chasing Silver video series. And I know Andy caught tons of fish on this fly. I've caught a couple on this myself, but I haven't used it in a couple of years. Okay guys, thanks.